Hey everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some vegan myths. Okay, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw that we got a cat. She was one of the ones that we rescued. This is baby Mochi. Mochi, look at the camera. I'm just putting that in here because she likes to meow. So I'm doing this video because it is Veganuary, as you probably know, and if you've seen the rest of my content, you know that I'm going along with that theme. I'm really trying to target like new vegans and people who are kind of on the fence and interested about veganism, because I know there are a lot of reasons and kind of excuses and myths as to why people don't want to go vegan. So I want to kind of bust some of those myths, shed some light, show you that veganism can be easy and fun, and that all of these myths that you hear are not true, which is why they're myths, obviously. So that's all I really have for the introduction. It's pretty self-explanatory, so let's just jump right in. So the first myth that I have is that vegan and vegetarian are the same thing. And this can get kind of frustrating when you're going out and they're like, yay, vegan restaurant, but they get the terms vegan and vegetarian mixed up, so that's unfortunate. So it's kind of like a family tree. It starts with vegetarianism and then it branches off into different sections. So there's actual vegetarianism, which is just no meat products. They still eat eggs, dairy, gelatin, all that stuff. Oh yeah, they call that ovo-lacto vegetarians. They still eat eggs and milk. For you, we've got vegetarian, we've got the ovo-lacto vegetarian, we've got the pescatarian. Those are the vegetarians who just eat fish. They don't eat any other meat, and I don't really know much about pescatarianism. So if you do know more about that, please let us know. And then there is vegan. And obviously, as I've explained before, if you don't know anything about veganism, this is your first time hearing something about it, be sure to click this video right here to hear about my vegan story and more about what veganism is. So then on this side, we have veganism, which is you don't eat any animal products at all or animal byproducts. And then a new term that I've heard recently is flexitarian. And that is basically someone who just eats animal products when they want to. So they're like vegan when they want, and then they're like omnivores whenever they want. So myth number 2 is that it's expensive. If you want to hear more about how we've saved money by going vegan, you can check out this video right here, which outlines my pros and cons to veganism. And of course, it will explain a lot of the other things on this list as well. I guess veganism can be expensive if you make it that way, but so can any diet. If let's just say you're an omnivore and you're buying steak and lobster dinners, and what else is expensive? I don't know. If you're an omnivore buying expensive food, yeah, being an omnivore is going to be expensive. But if you're a vegan buying expensive food, veganism is going to be expensive. You don't have to buy expensive food. What we did, we just simply took our diet, cut out meat, and added some more beans for our protein and fiber source, and that was it. Our diet really didn't change. Our grocery bill didn't really change. When you get into more of like the vegan alternatives, like vegan yogurts and cheese and burgers and stuff, that stuff can get a little more expensive. So if you stick to a whole food plant-based diet, it can be relatively inexpensive. The next myth is that it's unhealthy, and this one really cracks me up. People think that you might become malnourished. I think that was another myth I have on my list. Yeah, leads to malnutrition. So we're just gonna tie those in together. A lot of people think that because you're vegan, you're gonna have malnutrition, you're gonna not get the nutrients you need, but in reality, vegans typically get more nutrients than omnivores. And that is because instead of their bulk of the diet being meat and eggs and other animal products, the bulk of a vegan's diet is like leafy greens and beans and stuff that has really important nutrients that we need. And most of the time, omnivores don't eat enough vegetables, don't eat enough fruit, and don't eat enough fiber that comes from beans. Now, of course, this isn't the case all the time, but for the standard American diet, that is the case. So if anything, this is not only a myth, but like you might be malnourished and unhealthy as an omnivore as well. And that leads to another myth, which is that veganism is healthy. And I know I just said that it was healthy, and it can be, but just like any diet, a diet can be healthy and a diet can be unhealthy. We'll touch more on this later, but veganism is not just a diet. So yeah, I know I just said veganism can be healthy, but that's not always the case. There's vegan junk food. You can live off of vegan pizza and burgers and nachos and whatever else you want. So it can be unhealthy if you choose. So the first myth I talked about health was because a lot of people think that you'd be malnourished as a vegan. You can still eat vegan junk food and get all the nutrition you need, because maybe not all the nutrition, but omnivores out there eat junk food all day, every day, and they're living just fine. I don't know if they're just fine, but veganism is healthy, but it can be unhealthy if you let it. Again, just like with the expensiveness, if you stick to a whole plant-based food, you will not have to spend more money, and it's also healthier. Another myth going along with that is that vegans lose weight and are skinnier. It depends for everybody. Some people do lose weight, some people are really skinny, but that has a lot to do with genetics as well. You might lose weight, you might not, and it's just different for everybody. So that's the myth I want to bust. podcast is don't get discouraged if you don't lose weight because you go vegan. It is good for other health reasons. If you want to check out this video right here, 30 plus reasons to go vegan that do not include for the animals, I outline a lot of reasons health-wise that you should go vegan. You might lose weight, but again, it's all up to other factors in your life, so it might not happen to everyone. Another common myth about vegans is that they can't lift weights and they're weak and they're not gonna have strong bones, and that is just not the case. I'm gonna throw up some pictures and names of some vegan bodybuilders and athletes. Some are like world renowned, they've won awards, they've won titles. Just a little personal bit on this. I haven't lifted weights much recently, but I have run the longest and also run the fastest ever in my life since going vegan. I have so much more energy and I feel like my body has better recovery time. I feel like I don't get injured as easily, knock on wood, because I'm accident prone. But yeah, just the myth that if you're vegan, like you can't lift weights anymore, you can't run anymore, you have to give up all activity. Like, no, you're not gonna turn frail. You're still gonna be strong. You're still gonna be able to do your exercise. False. That one is definitely a myth. Another myth, I guess I can see how this one could be spun into like a truth, but one of the myths is that it's too hard. And this might mean it's hard in a numerous amount of ways, but what I think it might mean is that it's too hard to eat out, or it's too hard to shop, or it might be even too hard like willpower wise. I can see where they're coming from. Fun fact, growing up, never ever thought I could go vegan. I always said, if it wasn't for bacon and cheese, I could go vegan. Here I am. You could be a meat lover and you can go vegan. I mean, it might be a longer journey for you. Everyone's journey is different. You don't have to feel like you have to jump into it overnight. The mindset might be a little hard for some people, especially in the beginning, but the rest of it is definitely a myth. It is not hard to shop once you know what to look for. It is not hard to go out, especially like now in the age of technology we live in. There's apps that you can find restaurants for. Google Maps will tell you. You can get on vegan Facebook groups in your area. That's where I find a lot of recommendations for my area. And going right along with that is another myth, which is that vegans can't eat out. And like I just said, there's a lot of ways that you can find restaurants to eat out at. And especially in the country that you are living in, if you speak the language there. I say that because if you don't know, I live in Japan and I'm not fluent in Japanese. I'm trying. So say I was living in America, it's a lot easier for me to explain what veganism is to another person who speaks English than it is for me to try to explain it to someone who speaks Japanese. Like the language barrier, it gets really complicated. Sure, the only option might be like a veggie sandwich or a salad, like not something spectacular, but you can ask someone, hey, I can't eat milk, dairy, fish, eggs, and then they might even be able to make something for you at a non-vegan restaurant. So that one is a myth. There are a lot of ways that you can still eat out, go hang out with your friends, travel, all that stuff. The next myth is that veganism is not filling. And if you've seen my vegan story, you know that this was true for me in the beginning. And that is just because I was uneducated. If you know going in that plant volume has less volume than a piece of chicken, then you'll know that you need to eat a little bit more vegetables and beans and stuff to compensate for the lack of volume, if that makes sense. Vegetables just aren't as calorie dense, so it does require more quantity to get the same amount of calories. You just have to eat a lot more vegetables to get the same amount of calories, is what I'm trying to say. And if you know that going in and you know how to compensate for the difference, then it doesn't have to be unfilling. It can still be filling and satisfying if you just do some research before jumping into it. Okay, so this is the point that I brought up earlier. We'll touch more on this later, but veganism is not just a diet. The myth is that veganism is all about the food. It's just a diet, a fad, a trend, whatever. But it's not. Veganism is a lifestyle. So you might hear the term plant-based, and that is strictly diet, if to eat a plant-based diet. But to live a vegan lifestyle and eat a vegan diet, that requires you to change more things. You wouldn't support things like animal testing. You wouldn't buy leather. I talk about this more in my What is Veganism video, and I will be sure to leave that linked below for you to check out to learn more about what you can and can't partake in and purchase as a vegan. And I already touched on this next myth a little bit. The myth is that there are no health benefits to being vegan. Some of the health benefits are, and I'm just gonna go through these quickly because I've talked about these in previous videos. You have more energy, better workout recovery time, you get more nutrients, typically. But there are a lot of plant-based foods that you can eat that promote good health overall and fight cancer and brain disease and diabetes and stuff like that. There are actually a lot of health benefits to eating vegan. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of studies out there, but the best source for me, it has all of the studies linked in it. It's in one great book. It's called How Not to Die. It's just a really great book about plant-based health, eating plant-based benefits, and kind of busting some of these myths as well. Another myth is that only vegans need supplements. While it is true that vegans might need to supplement, it's also true that some omnivores might need to supplement as well. For example, you could be an omnivore living in Alaska during the winter where the sun doesn't rise for 3 months. You're gonna need to supplement some vitamin D because there's no sunshine. Whether you're vegan or omnivore living in Alaska, that's the case for you. For me, I probably don't have to supplement vitamin D because it is January 14th and I'm just gonna insert a picture. I can go outside and soak up some vitamin D. I don't need cow's milk for that. I've been doing a lot of reading about supplements and reading that eating the actual food itself is way better than eating the supplement. But personally, I just try to get all of my required daily nutrients, I guess, from actual food itself. I just do my best to eat whole food, plant-based, and eat a variety of foods, fruits, vegetables, grains. It never hurts to go get your blood tested and see if you are deficient in any area and then supplement that as needed. You can either buy a supplement or you can just buy a food and consume that food that has some of that nutrients in it. Just an example, if you're iron deficient, you'll probably want to eat more like spinach and leafy greens or get an iron supplement. I used to be iron deficient before I went vegan. It's not true that only vegans need to supplement. Another myth is that vegans can't get protein and calcium and other stuff that you get from animal products like B12 also. It's just not true. You don't have to eat animal products to get these things. Here are some plant foods that are high in protein and so many more. Other beans, other nuts, other seeds, they are all really high in protein, and if you eat enough of those in your day, you can still get the required amount of protein in your diet. And same with calcium. So here are some of the top plant-based sources for calcium. It's not true that you have to eat animal products to get these things. You can supplement them or eat them in a vegan diet. The next one is that veganism is not suitable for children. So I'm not really educated too much on this topic. I'm just pulling some stuff I learned from the internet. So please take everything I say with a grain of salt. So I'm just gonna read this straight from the web. I mean, maybe not the most reliable source, it's not like a journal or anything. I'll leave it linked below for you to check out. But it says, in summary, vegan diets can be safe for children once parents are well informed about the key nutrients required for growth and development. However, parents must be extra cautious to ensure they're following a balanced diet. I feel like that's the same whether you're a vegan parent or a non-vegan parent, with vegan kids or non-vegan kids. Either way, you still want your kids to have the required nutrients they need to grow big and strong. And yeah, once parents are well informed, because just like yourself, as long as you're getting the required amount of nutrients for an adult, make sure that your children are getting the required amount of nutrients for a child. In short, veganism is safe for kids as long as you're giving them the nutrients they need. The next myth is that veganism is boring. I couldn't disagree more. I have learned so much about cooking and baking since I have gone vegan. I've learned to try new spices, new flavor combinations, new types of cuisine. I've tried new foods in general, new fruits and vegetables, and I mean, an omnivore diet can be boring. If you're eating the same breakfast every day, you're just having bacon and eggs and toast. I mean, same for veganism if you're just eating oatmeal every day, but you don't have to. You can still make tacos and burgers. Veganism is not boring, and I don't really know what else to say about it besides you won't really know until you try, and don't be afraid to try new things. If this is the myth that's holding you back, like you're this close to being vegan but you're like, but it's boring. Baloney. Vegan baloney. I'm not a recipe creator by any means, but I do have a lot of my favorite recipes pinned on my Pinterest if you'd like to check those out for some inspiration. Another very common myth, I think this is one of probably the most common vegan myths, is that soy raises your estrogen levels, will cause men to develop breasts and women to develop breast cancer. I have to admit, I probably did think this like years ago, and I know people who still think this to this day, but there's been a lot of research on it, especially with the rise of veganism, and here's what it says. I'm just gonna read it straight from my phone and try not to butcher any of these big scientific words, and of course I will link this down below. While soy milk does contain compounds that are structurally similar to estrogen, they do not function exactly the same as this hormone. For many people, soy milk can be part of a nutritious, balanced diet and may actually have a few beneficial effects. Soy milk does not contain estrogen, but it does contain phytoestrogens. These are primarily present in the form of 3 different isoflavonases. I'm gonna call it isoflavonase because I don't know how to actually pronounce it. The amount of isoflavonase in soy milk and other soy products can be affected by agricultural conditions, soybean cultivar, and processing. Regardless of the specific concentrations of isoflavonase in your glass of soy milk, rest assured that phytoestrogens are not the same as estrogen. A lot to say that under a microscope, when you're looking at these phytoestrogens, they look the exact same as estrogen, which is why years ago, that's what they originally thought, and then all these rumors, soy is gonna give you breast cancer and all this nonsense. But years later, they finally found out that yes, they look exactly the same, but they function completely differently. These phytoestrogens are completely safe for us to eat, with no current research showing links between breast cancer and other reproductive diseases with soy. So soy is safe. Even if it wasn't, like, you can avoid soy as a vegan. If you're going vegan now, you're in such a lucky time to go vegan. There's so many options for you to choose from. Even if you want to avoid soy because you're still kind of on the fence about it, you can avoid soy if you want. Another common myth, I don't know if it's a myth, rather a retort maybe, when you tell people you're vegan, is that plants have feelings. I personally have not heard this, at least in person, but I've seen people get asked it before. When you go vegan for the animals, it's like, oh, I don't want to harm these animals because they actually feel pain and sadness. Well, people are like, well, don't plants eat pain when you bite into them? No, that is a total myth, and here's why. Plants don't have brains or central nervous systems like humans, therefore they can't have emotions or reasoning capabilities. In short, plants don't have feelings and they can't feel pain. Another awesome myth is that vegans are hippies. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think I'm overall a hippie because I'm like, save the earth, go vegan. You know, kind of like define hippie to define this. Maybe vegans are associated with hippies because they kind of promote peace and compassion. And if that's what makes you a hippie, then we should all strive to be hippies. The last one I have is that veganism is not for everyone. And this kind of ties into all of the other myths combined, like, oh, veganism is not for me because I'm a weightlifter, or oh, veganism is not for me because I love bacon. Veganism is not for me because I'm not a hippie. Like, insert your reasoning here. No, veganism is for everyone. Whoever wants to be vegan can be vegan. There's no guideline. You can be any race, color, gender, religion, age. You can be whoever you want to be and you can be vegan. I know vegans of all shapes, sizes, colors, and they're all beautiful people. Point is, you don't have to fit some cookie cutter mold to be vegan. You don't have to live in a certain area or act a certain way. You can literally be the same person and just change your diet and your lifestyle a little bit. Moral of the story is, if you want to be vegan, go vegan. No one's forcing you. No one's holding you back either. If you want to make that choice, make that choice for yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video and this kind of improv talk about veganism myths. Again, I've only been vegan for a year. I'm not a professional or that educated. I've definitely been learning as I go. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Bust your own myths. Be sure to check out the rest of my Veganuary content linked below if you are interested and new to veganism. Again, I will leave all the resources linked below that I cited. And if you're interested, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell for post notifications if you want to hear more about how to stay vegan, as well as if you want to hear tips for new vegans. I'm pretty sure my last video, I said that video would be this week, but I've changed everything around. Sorry that I was wrong in my last video, but I promise that video is coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this type of video, please give it a thumbs up and let us know down below what other myths you heard about veganism and how you busted them. Until next time, remember that these small changes you make have a big impact in the long run. Bye guys. Mochi, you're gonna need to stop. Ovo-lacto? Is that the right word? I should grab a pen. It's certainly healthier than any other. Wrap this up. Okay. Mochi, quit being so loud. You're out of here. Another common myth. You can get on vegan Facebook Marketplace. No, vegans? Did I just say vegans? That was a jet flying in front of the sun. Isoflavonase. Flavonese? Flavones? I'm always up to hippie shenanigans. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying.